Okay, let's do an example. We're going to graph two equations on the same axis and then find their intersection. So first thing, let's click Use Calculator. You can see across the top, it already has a graphing calculator option right there in our menu. But let's say, for example, you were working in the basic calculator and needed to get to graphing. So let's just do something simple. Let's just go 8 times 5, and there we get our answer of 40. And now you're like, okay, now I need a graph. Just click the squares in that upper right corner and you can see it'll pull the menu right back to you. So now I'm going to click Graphing Calculator. All right, in this example, we're going to graph two different equations. The first one's going to be a parabola. It's going to be x squared minus 3. So you can see my cursor right there in my blue entry bar. So I can go ahead and type in x squared minus 3. So I'm going to scroll here to scientific, and there's our variable in the bottom left corner. So I'm going to click that x. But now I need to square it. So notice right here we have x squared. There's our parabola. Now I need to shift that down 3. So I'm going to click the basic and just simply tap minus 3. There's our first equation. Now the second equation is going to be a line, 2x plus 1. In order to type in another equation, simply just click the red plus symbol. So I'm just going to click that. Notice my blue entry is now cleared out, but my parabola equation is still there. You can type in as many equations as you want to graph. There is no limit. So now I'm going to type in 2x plus 1. So I'm going to go 2, hit scientific to get our x, and now let's just add plus 1. And there you can see our two equations. So let me just show you, those are the ones we're going to use to find the intersection. But let's say, for example, you want to add in one more equation. Just click the plus sign again, that red plus, and let's just throw in a trig one. So let's say the sine of x. And now you can see all three of them there. So once you have the equations you want, notice across in that gray area, there's a little keyboard. If you click that, that's going to make your keyboard disappear. It's going to pull it down. So now we can see exactly which functions we have graphed above us, and notice they are all color-coded. All right, so first thing, the sine of x, we don't want to deal with that anymore. Let's get rid of it. Just simply click the trash can, and now it's gone. So looking at this here, you can now see, okay, we have our parabola and we have our line. Let's say, for example, we only want to look at our parabola for a second. Just uncheck that 2x plus 1, and now you have that graph by itself. We can do the same thing for our 2x plus 1. So you can simply check and uncheck to look at which functions you want. All right, so I'm just going to click on that x squared minus 3, and that means when I go through and I trace and I'm finding, the min and max and all that stuff, we're going to be dealing with the parabola. If I wanted to trace along the line, the 2x plus 1, I would click the 2x plus 1. But let's just keep it on the parabola for now. All right, so let's pull up our graph full screen. The way you do that to get rid of this equation list is simply just swipe it down. Now from here, using my fingers, notice I can pull around my graph, move it up or down. I can also use 2 or more fingers and expand the graph out to zoom in and pull it back in to zoom right back in here. Okay, so let's look at, well, how do we find the intersections? How do we trace and all that? Simply click this arrow up in the right corner that's pointing to the left, and you will see a whole menu open across the top. This first one here means trace. So if I follow my finger, remember I said we chose the x squared, the parabola? If I follow my finger along this graph, notice it is tracing. Then we have max and min. So in this case, we have a minimum value on our parabola. So I go to that minimum value and we get 0, -3. Here we have the roots or the zeros. So that means where it's crossing through our x-axis. So right there is 1. And then if I click over here is our second one. Notice if you wanted to find the zeros on your line, remember what we'd have to do is we'd have to swipe this back up, select our line, and then we can find the 0 on our line there. So let's just go back to the parabola for now. Here is now our intersection. So first intersection, I'm going to tap right where I think it's at, and there we have the very first intersection, about -1.24 and -1.47. Now to find the second intersection, I'm going to tap up here where I think the second intersection is, and you can see it's at 3.24 and 7.47. So that's how you would find the intersection. Last, let me just show you here. Say you want the derivative going around. Once again, if I just trace along here, you can see the tangent line and the x value with the corresponding derivative going around. So that's how you graph different equations on the same axis and then do the trace, max, min, intersections, and all that fun stuff on GraphLock.